r/AskReddit asks, what did that one teacher at your school get fired for? My art teacher got busted with a nude painting he had done of a girl in my class. She was 18, but he still got fired. Did she pose for him, or did he paint it from his imagination? I'm trying to imagine which one is worse, and honestly, both feel so awful for his career in teaching. We were reading a novel in 7th grade that contained the word. A student in my class said he was offended by it and said he refused to read/complete the assignments because him and his people had been subjected to slavery and racism and still are today in front of the whole class. The teacher responded by saying the closest you've been to being a slave is picking the cotton out of a bottle of Tylenol. The teacher responded by saying the closest you've been to being a slave is picking the cotton out of a bottle of Tylenol. Well, the teacher's not wrong. In grade school, the art teacher taught art for all the grades. She was known for being harsh and critical among the students, but adults dismissed it as kids whining. Then came the time where the entire school didn't have an honor roll because she didn't award a single grade above a C. My grade school art teacher was this sweet, rotund lady that everyone loved. Fast forward 15 years, and she was on the cover of the local newspaper for breaking into cars and using stolen credit cards at an American Eagle. Good times. My science teacher in 5th grade, my regular teacher, had an agreement with him to teach certain subjects, was very much also an art teacher. We talked about Earth's major biomes, and for each one we had to draw an animal and landscape representing the biome, and describe facts about it. The first biome was the tundra, and I chose to draw a muskox. We weren't allowed to draw polar bears. However, he didn't give clear directions for it, and when it came time to check our work, he judged that I had poor drawing skills, and construed that as not following directions, and thus gave me and several other students an F on it, and wrote us up for detention. Wish I was kidding about this part. My 4th grade reading teacher murdered his wife and son, and buried them in his backyard. He was a science teacher. One day in class he disciplined a girl who was misbehaving. She and a few friends conspired together to start rumors that he had molested them. The teacher didn't do anything, and the girls came forward that they'd made it up when they realized how big of a deal it was, but he resigned anyway because mud sticks. Shame. He was a good teacher. Edit. This doesn't seem to be a unique case. The amount of "was this at school?" replies is insane. Cannot fucking stand that shit. It's criminal. It isn't, but it should be. Coming in still drunk from the night before after going to a midnight premiere of Revenge of the Sith. PSHH, I don't see what the problem is. One of students was a son of the director/head of the board. I caught him cheating on my final exam. It was a definition question, and I found the edit webpage where he copied the exact answer. I, of course, gave him an F at the end of that semester. Like a week later, I was told to leave. He passed my class with a C without my approval. Edit. Just to clarify the situation, I saw him using his phone. I didn't tell him that. I just asked why he was looking under the desk. He said he was playing with his phone, followed by arguing that it's not against the rule to do so. The question was to define velocity. It's easy enough that you can phrase in your own words. Less than 5 words. He wrote 3 sentences, which was too good/detailed for a guy who doesn't even bother to memorize F=ma. The definition was copied from the textbook. It was copied from one of the first Google results. The kid was known to do such things by the students and the teachers. Other students didn't give a shit about him, and most teachers didn't want to deal with him. I didn't care to argue with him. He died. I don't know why the school said they fired him, but whatever. This reminds me of a thread from several years ago about the dumbest rules in school, and someone said their school handbook said that if you committed suicide, you were expelled. Pedophilia. He went to jail. He was released years later. He became a teacher again. He re-offended. You can't make this shit up. Edit. This was in Canada for those asking. I don't understand how he got his job again either. Well, we better test if there is actually a problem here by letting him out, rehiring him and seeing what he'll do a third time. It's just science. Her son, who attended the school, put KKK propaganda in black students' lockers as a joke and was subsequently expelled. She wasn't fired, but from what I can tell, she and the school both agreed that it would be better for her to leave after that incident. being a sex offender, and not disclosing it to the Board of Education. Surprise, getting caught with 50 gigs of child porn will destroy your coaching career, girls volleyball, basketball, and assisting with gymnastics. Edit, RIP. My inbox. Some backstory. He went through a criminal investigation for what was found on his computer and never told the school board what it was over. After he had to register, he never told the school, and since our school was aching for athletic personnel, no one asked. The teacher also had tenure. It wasn't until that he came in visibly drunk that the school dismissed him, but by that time several complaints had been filed about lewd comments he had made at the 6th grade females in the school. After firing him, a police officer came by to advise us that a week prior he had been charged for the child porn and was a registered sex offender. There was a lot of shit the school got for letting him work for a week. Apparently he went on vacation during his court proceedings and kept it under wraps so he wouldn't lose his job, harboring an escaped prisoner from another state. Edit, the story. Her name was Miss B, mid-30s, mousy brown hair, and the biggest kindest personality. She moved to my small town the summer before my senior year and got a job as a Spanish teacher at my little high school. She was from Kentucky, which is several states away from us, and her family still lived there. She used to let me drive to get fast food breakfast during first period, as long as I picked up something for her. She didn't mind me taking smoke breaks, as long as I didn't snitch when she lit up in the stairwell. She was awesome. I had her first semester for Spanish 2, which I aced, and second semester for Spanish 3. Mid-semester, she comes to class a little late one morning and tells us the deal. Her uncle had escaped federal custody in Kentucky and had fled. He wound up at her house, where she took him in. He's family, she said. Johnny Law comes to her house asking about him, and she denies. They leave, but monitor her and her place for a bit. They deduce his whereabouts and contact her again, letting her know that harboring a fugitive is a serious offense. She denies again. They leave while the warrant machine starts turning. She comes to school to find, if memory serves, Deputy US Marshals in the administrative office. She knows what's up, and she comes to class to brief us. She even asks if we have any questions. She was cool. A few minutes later, our principal, accompanied by our friendly school resource officer, knocks on the door and asks to speak with her for a moment and to grab her purse. Through tears, she tells us goodbye and that she's enjoyed being our teacher and wishing us luck in life. That was the last we saw of her. A friend claimed to have seen her being escorted out in handcuffs. Her house was vacant the next day. Her car disappeared. We were forbidden to discuss anything she'd shared with us in class, which means everyone knew about it immediately. We had a substitute the rest of the year. Edit 2, Electric Boogaloo. Okay, you guys demanded it, so I put my internet detective hat on, and I may have found her. I can't find any pictures, so I can't be 100% sure this is her, but it's not good, folks. Looks like she didn't do much time for the harboring charge. However, that set her on an ugly road. About 10 years later, she was arrested on charges of organized crime, drug distribution and conspiracy. Hillbilly heroin. Man, I hope it's not her, because it gets worse from there, but I can't say any more without doxing. So basically, thanks for making me get sad, you beautiful bastards. Accidentally showed porn to the class. Starring himself. Were you in the class? I can't even imagine how that would happen. No, thank God. It was homemade. From what I heard, it was just a video file on his laptop. That's about all I know. Other than that, if he wasn't fired, I wouldn't have the scholarships I have now. So it's a good thing my teacher was a perv, I guess. Edit. Many people have asked me how him being fired helped with the scholarships. I would have failed the class if he hadn't been fired, but because he was, a lot of the assignments he assigned were randomly declared null, including a blog he made us run, a few essays, and some random assignments, many of which I never bothered to do, which brought my grade up significantly. Ended up with a C in the class, but because it was an honors class it was counted as a B. There's a full tuition scholarship you can get at my uni if you got all A's and B's in high school. I didn't know it at the time, but a bullet basically just gracefully osculated my taint. We had a sub in 8th grade science class. Black kid mentions that his uncle is homosexual and dead. Sub responds, well, he's in hell because God hates gays and black people. The next day, the regular teacher said that the sub would never work at the district again. HS English teacher was fired in the middle of class and later escorted off campus the morning after students found his Twitter account. He used this account to tweet at pornsters, post nude photos of himself, threaten politicians, desire to try cocaine, and post his Amazon wish list. Coolest part was we learned his nipples were pierced from the photos, which for years was a rumor. A second teacher was fired the same year over the summer for getting with a student. I was on the yearbook committee, and I had to Photoshop him out of the team photo, since he was the coach. Edit. The Amazon wish list was bad because of what he had on it, not just cause he had one. Thought that was obvious. Reaching up an 8th grader's skirt. He probably dropped his pen, and it landed up her skirt. That one teacher was Mr. M. He was our 6th grade science teacher, and everyone loved him. He was a firm, but fair teacher that made sure we all understood the material and even made learning 6th grade science material surprisingly enjoyable. Every Friday, he'd wear silly bright red shoes, and for birthdays, he would take a photo with the birthday kid with him standing on his head on their desk. Like I said, this guy was great. During one lesson, when I was in 8th grade, a student dropped a thermometer on the floor, broke it, and spilled a very tiny amount of mercury on the floor. Mr. M cleaned it up, but apparently not the right way, according to the administration. Once they caught wind of the story, he was forced to leave for apparently putting kids in danger, even though that amount of mercury would not even be close to dangerous. Everyone was crushed. A ton of students all banded together to buy him a new pair of red shoes. Last I heard from him, he got a great job in another school in the state, where he's loved by the students there too, so that's good. I'm friends on Facebook with him. I should ask him about what's new when I can. Edit. I asked some people, not Mr. M, and it turns out it was because he didn't report the spill to the administration, not just because he didn't clean it up correctly. Still shitty, but I figured I should clarify. We had a drunk teacher, the male teacher who fucked his way through most of the single and not single female staff. The male teacher who was way too handsy with the female students, and the male teacher who got into a literal fist fight with a student during gym class. None of them were ever fired. He knocked up my high school girlfriend while she was 17, and I was in my first year of college. Still wonder how things would have turned out if that didn't happen. Edit. I should probably clarify a few things. I graduated HS in 2005. Christ, I edited my typo over 45 minutes ago, and I'm still getting messages about it. I appreciate the kind words, but I'm 28 now and quite over it. I jumped into a relationship right after this girl, with one that was the polar opposite in every way. After a few years, that ended up not working out due to the fact that I realized that there were qualities about the HSGF that I actually liked, cheating aside. Then I was single for about a year, 2009, before I randomly started texting with HSGF. HSGF and I had casual sex, my only experience with non-committed relationship sex. For about a year and a half, I started to develop feelings again. She was forthright about regretting what she did because she lost me, etc. I pulled out of the situation, no pun intended, because I knew that I could never trust her completely. Then I was single for another few years. Now I've been in a great relationship for about 3 years. But I still sometimes wonder how things would have happened with HSGF had we met like we did the second time and had a clean slate. I still have warm memories from time to time, but I love my current GF to death and wouldn't throw what I have with her away for anything. I think it's human to look back and wonder about other people. It's when you pursue things that it's wrong, I think. My teacher in 5th grade was notoriously mean. Got fired for slapping a kid. Earlier that year, she told me I'm so stupid that I'll get hit by a car. Edit. Yes, I did get hit by a car after that, but I don't see what that has to do with anything.